Hello guys, this is UniversalGiant and welcome back for more of Let's Play Pokémon SoulSilver. Last time we got the Glacier Badge from the Mahogany Gym after chasing off Team Rocket, and we learned that there is something going on at the radio tower, Goldenrod City, because they took it over and they're broadcasting something on the radio, which doesn't really make sense because we drove them off from doing their radio shenanigans here in Mahogany Town anyway. But today we're going to ignore it completely because I don't care. We're going to go back to the Safari Zone to take on Baoba's second owner aptitude test challenge thingy. And this, although it won't give us anything to do immediately, opens up a lot for us to do here in the future. So I figure we might as well get it out of the way now, because I don't feel like dealing with Team Rocket. But now he's going to ask us to catch a Sandshrew in the Safari Zone, but we can't catch it as it's laid out currently. So he's going to tell us about the new area customizer. Now this isn't the most difficult thing in the world to figure out. Yeah, you might want to tell us where to find a Sandshrew. God, it's so difficult to pronounce it incorrectly, I might accidentally call it a Sandshrew once in a while. But the best way for me to describe this is like the final area in Skyward Sword, where you can move around different areas. I believe all of these here are the places that we were able to go to before. But now, we can swap out areas for different ones. I don't know if we can actually have multiples of the same one. It looks like we can. That doesn't really make sense, but what I'm going to do off-screen is figure out which ones we've already explored and swap them for the ones that we haven't yet, so I'll do that real quick. Alright, so I think I've swapped in all of the areas that we haven't explored yet, but just like last time, I don't necessarily have all the time in the world to do this, so I'm going to be showing off a couple of Pokemon from each area. Mainly the one that I'm going to be after is the Sandshrew, of course, and to that end, I moved the desert area all the way to the front, so we can catch it straight away, just like the Geodude for the first test. And I feel like walking around with Crunch out here because he finally reached his final evolved form, and it makes me happy to see him here. The funny thing about Feraligatr is that he evolves earlier than the other two starters. I forget when they evolve, actually, if it's 32, 34, or 36. But a lot of the starter evolutions, at least their final evolutions, confuse me as to when they actually evolve. Because more often than not, the starters will evolve at different levels. I suppose it's for balance or something, but it doesn't compensate for too much, except for one rival battle we're going to have in the near future. But as you can see here, the Pokemon do actually run away, unlike the Geodude I was able to catch on my first try last time, who didn't really give me that much trouble. Sandshrew, on the other hand, is, and he's being a jerk about it. But the Safari Zone, I did make a mistake about it the first time we were here, saying that there's a limit to how many steps you can take in here, or how much time you have to stay in here. I believe there isn't such a limit in this version, and correct me if I'm wrong, but because I've never actually run around here for half an hour or something to test it myself. But I don't think there's a limit on time or steps here. Which is very strange considering the fact that this is actually the smallest of the Safari Zones. At least by my recollection. I don't spend too much time in here, so I'm not 100% on that. But you'd think you'd want to have a little more time to explore the larger Safari Zones. Whereas this one's just kinda really tiny, and in addition to it, you can arrange all of the areas however you like. So if you really want to explore a certain area and not waste any time, you could just stick it in the front, right next to the entrance. So I'm not sure why, of all Safari Zones, they decided to lift the limit here, or if that's a change that they're going to be making permanently if they ever put in a new Safari Zone into, say, Black and White 2. Maybe that'll have a Safari Zone and they won't have a limit there. But like I said, I want to make the most of my time here since I'm not going to be showing off too many Pokemon around here, considering the fact that my game will crash if I do. So if I find somebody cool that I feel like catching just for the sake of it, I will. I'll try to make sure I have at least a few Safari Balls on hand just in case I run into something I really, really want to catch, though. It's difficult to gauge that when you're going into a Safari Zone, or I want to say like the bug catching contest too, where you only have a limited number of balls. You never know what you'll run into, so you always want to make sure that you have some on hand. Which is why I usually leave if I'm down to only a few balls. And if someone like this Golduck is sitting here just waiting for me to catch him and I'm not able to, I just waste a whole bunch of balls on one Pokemon. But the Safari Zone is pretty much what you make it. You could do what I'm doing here and just waste every ball you have on somebody who just insists on not being caught. Or you could pick and choose who you want to catch, or you could catch them all. But yeah, I wasted like 10 balls on that guy, and he just ran away in the end, so it didn't really serve me too much good. I think I do want to surf around a little bit also. I forget where it is that you can catch Lapras. I want to say it's one of the areas that we had to move in after the first aptitude test. But, I mean, we already have a Lapras, so there's no point in it, and I'd just be wasting more time than anything else, but I kind of want to show off that it's here. Of course, there's a limit to it. Can we ride our bike here? We can ride our bike here. That's kind of silly. I never really thought about riding my bike here, or why it would be silly, and why can't I catch anything. Girafarig, I might as well. I didn't mention on the route leading up to the Lake of Rage that you can find this thing much more frequently than where I pointed out in front of the Safari Zone. And I can't believe I thought this thing was part Ghost type. I feel like a complete idiot. But the funny thing is, when you actually want to have a random encounter, and you're going on your bicycle as fast as you can, making as much noise as possible to drag them out from wherever they're hiding, they decide not to. Whereas when you're just trying to walk slowly and you're playing a lullaby, like I was doing that one time on the route north of Goldenrod, I was able to run into those things like once every few steps, so the random number generator isn't typically kind, especially not in these games. And I'm sure everybody has their stories about it, like how you always seem to get poisoned even if you have a 30% chance of being inflicted with it, whereas if you're trying to inflict confusion on someone else, it never works, or if it does, they never hit themselves. I'm really tempted to, and by really tempted I mean I'll completely forget about it after I stop talking, but I'm really tempted to see if those ratios actually work out to be true, where whether or not your bad luck is actually bad luck, or if it's built in to screw you over. And one of the few times where you can try to catch an Abra in the second turn of a battle, because whenever you try to run into these things in the wild and you can actually battle them, they'll always use Teleport to escape at the end of the first turn. Pain in the ass to catch! And one of the most frail, physically defensive things in the game, except for maybe the Chansey family. I'm not 100% on that one either. But I used one of these things in Fire Red. Good times. So we still have a couple of more areas to explore while we're making the best use of our time that we can in the Safari Zone. It also disappoints me to say that this is probably going to be among the last times until the near end that I can stall for time and not do anything productive. Because you guys all know how I don't like being productive. That's the first thing I was able to catch here with one ball. I'm surprised. Jigglypuff is kind of rare. Maybe not necessarily here in the Safari Zone, but rare in general. So cute. I actually do enjoy the Safari Zone. I'm not trying to get out of here after a couple of encounters just because I don't like it. It's just that I don't have enough time to spend around here to actually do this place justice, and believe me, once we get the thing that we get for going through the second test here, which we won't see for a little while because we need the National Dex to trigger it, but it's well worth your time to do this if you're looking for a specific Pokemon that you can't generally find in the second generation. And I was actually surprised to learn after going through the game the first time, I didn't recognize anybody after the second generation because that was when I pretty much stopped playing Pokemon when I was a kid. But when I got back to it and I started recognizing all of the different kinds of Pokemon that were here beyond 251, I thought it was really neat how in the remakes here that they made it so that you could catch Pokemon that weren't in the second generation, and they didn't just shoehorn them in and say, oh well, we'll just stick 100 new kinds of Pokemon in the second half of the game just because we can. They actually made the methods of finding them really intriguing. And of course we'll cover all of those when we get there, but I mean, I just appreciate how they stayed true to the integrity of the second generation and didn't throw in Pokemon from different generations that weren't originally there. Nor did they do that in the second half of the game either, and I don't want to waste all of my Safari Balls on a new arena, so I'm just gonna run off. Yeah, I gotta watch my ball count, because I only got 5 left. And I'm totally gonna blow them all on a Zubat. But you can also find different Pokemon here depending on the time of day, so I mean, you can feel free to spend as much time in here as you like if you really want the clock to change that badly. But it's up to you how you want to play it. I will say, when I'm going through the Pokemon game on my own, I'll try to catch as many things as I possibly can. Not necessarily catching them all, but I just like to have a variety in my box to feel like I accomplished something, as opposed to just sticking with the same party. Of course, it doesn't make for a very good Let's Play because I'm either off-screening a whole bunch of things, or it's taking 10 times as long as it needs to. And I don't want to risk crashing the game, so I think we'll just retire here. We had a pretty good haul today. Chad, we haven't gotten a call from anybody in forever that wasn't our mom. How you doing, Chad? I don't even remember who you are, where you were, or how we met, but yes, he did travel all over the world. As wouldn't everybody. So insightful. Usually when I'm playing this game, the only people that give me phone calls are idiots that have nothing intelligent to say, but I've gotten pretty lucky so far. Of course, now that we have ourselves a Sandshrew, I think it's time for us to show it to Baoba, so he can give us whatever it is he's going to give us. Hey! Part owner? I didn't think you were serious. We actually own the Safari Zone now? Holy crap. Why? I own the place! Why would I pay admission? Sandshrew, I know we haven't known each other for long, but could you beat this guy up for me, please? Oh well. And now that we've seen what the area customizer does, I think it's this guy who says something funny about it. If I say exit, do you say the thing? No, you don't. Well, if I can't get him to say the thing I want him to say, I'll just cut ahead. Well, I guess he's not the one who says it. Are you the one who says it? No, you're not. One of you is going to say it. Please say it. I want somebody to say something funny about moving the areas around. Gosh darn it. Oh well. I was hoping one of these guys would complain about having to physically move the areas around, because you have to figure, how are these areas getting swapped out? It's not done by magic like in Skyward Sword. It's these guys that are moving it around, and I forget which one it is. And whoever it is isn't complaining enough about it, so we can't get that dialogue. Maybe it doesn't appear until later on, whatever. I think we've wasted enough time here, and I'm sure you guys think so too. So in the next episode, we will go battle Team Rocket again, because I'm so excited about it. This is UniversalGiant, and I'm tired of wasting time. And I'm sure you are too.